Good evening. I'd like to introduce my audience this evening. First of all, you have my mother and my stepfather. You have my wife and my son Jay back here. There he is right there. Okay. All right. And my name is James Wallace, and I will be discussing speech 2, object speech. This evening, I would like to discuss different types of deer, species of deer, where they're geographically located. First, this evening, I would like to start out with the male and the female deer of all the species. The male deer is often called a buck, and the female deer is often called the doe. Antlers, which are a part of the buck, are oftentimes used for protection and also to assert their dominance amongst other deer. Genetics and nutrition plays the biggest role in how big and how large the mass of their antlers get. Depending on the soil and the nutrition in the soil, that oftentimes has more effect, more so than the genetics. If they don't have a good food source and an abundant supply of it, the stress from the mating season and all that, it's not going to allow them to mature and grow a bigger mass year after year. As I just mentioned, they go through a stressful mating season. Doe tend to go into heat twice a year, and bucks kind of follow that cycle. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of nutrients to sustain themselves during that time period. So again, we look at nutrients and nutrition as being a big factor in that. The offspring of the male and the female are called fawns. Oftentimes we call them yearlings because when they're first born, they're born with white spots. Those white spots tend to go away after the first year, and that's why we call them yearlings. You can always tell by the white spots if they're fawns. White-tailed deer are some of the most common deer. They range widely all over the United States. They're the most widely geographically dispersed deer, ranging from Canada to Mexico. Oftentimes, hunters will travel to Saskatchewan, Canada. They'll also travel down to Mexico to hunt white-tailed deer. Obviously, geographically, it affects the deer of how big they get or how small they are because of the nutrients of the different types of soils, north and south. Another type of deer is called the mule deer, and they are predominantly found out in the Midwest. And their mass on their antlers tend to be a little larger than the white-tailed deer. Other members of the deer family include reindeer or caribou, moose, and elk. All of these species also have very large in mass antlers, and they tend to be larger animals altogether. So in conclusion, this evening we have talked about many different kinds of deer, how they reproduce, what they're called properly, and just geographically where they are located and where they might be found. And my name again is James Wallace, and thank you for listening.